Mr. Mullen.
Thank you, Senator, for bringing the bill, for dealing with this issue. I was not supportive of 610 last year. And I want to thank the chair for her hours of work on trying to forge, some kind of a compromise here. This is one of the more difficult bills that I've had to deal with. It's sparked an internal debate in our office about what is or is not good faith. It's the first time since I've been up here that I wish I were an attorney, which I am not.
Don't let that last long.
I'm a recovering attorney.
Just on the politics of this, I'm surprised to see SEIU on the bill. I'm trying to sort of discern what's really going on here. I mean, is this about organizing fast food? Because that's an interesting coalition between franchisees and labor to do that. Ostensibly, it's about low-wage workers, and that's a concern that I most certainly share. I just don't know how that concern is being realized through dealing with a contract law situation. So I'd like to maybe just get some further clarification on that. But be that as it may, regardless of the coalitions that are fighting this thing out, I mean, the central question is, are there abuses happening? If so, how can we narrowly craft a remedy? And I know that the chair has been working hard to sort of narrow this down to try to focus on those very few bad actors out there. I'm trying to discern if the language is at that point where it's too broad. I mean, the last thing I want to do is encourage unnecessary litigation and clog our courts. That doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help franchisors, franchisees, customers, workers, nobody. Okay, I won't feel comfortable voting for that bill. But if this is sufficiently targeting those particular abuses and moves that bar slightly in the favor of the franchisees to get at those abuses, this is about, have we struck the right balance? And I know the chair has been working this issue very hard, and I think we are getting toward that balance. But I'm interested to hear what my colleagues have to say as well, and some additional comments from the panel.
You want to go ahead? Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Molantia, on behalf of the Service Employees International Union, and thank you for your questions. We testified when you were out, but I will repeat our position. So we have been doing a lot of work on the ground, as many of you know, with fast food workers and obviously working with low-wage workers. We found in our work that there was a huge disparity, a disparity that was so big that it made our work in fighting for low-wage workers even more difficult. We found that the balance of power not only affects wages, it affects the working conditions of the folks that we have in these franchisees, mainly fast food restaurants. Oftentimes, franchisees will tell you, and our workers will tell you, there's cameras watching every move that the workers make, where it doesn't even seem like your franchisee, the employer that you think hired you, is really your direct employer, because the control and the power sits with the franchisors that essentially control your whole working environment, your wages, everything about your working environment is controlled by the franchisors. So we as SEIU had to take a step back. There's no organizing deal with this bill. There's nothing that we get tangible with this deal, but it's something that was necessary in order for us to take the second and third step to organizing and fighting for low-wage workers. So we banded with small businesses, two of the lower folks, the low-wage workers and the small businesses coming together to try to address these problems and this control that the franchisors have that leave franchisees literally unable and tied at their hands for addressing poor working conditions for the fast food workers that we're working to protect and help out on the ground.
Madam Chair, and I agree with Ms. Eggman's comments. Senator Jackson, I had several meetings on this bill, including in my district, and had some franchisees come into my district office just as recent as last Friday talking about this bill, and we walked through it a little bit, and I think most of their concerns really aren't addressed by this bill. And the other thing, I'm kind of perplexed and maybe even slightly offended by some of the comments from the Labor Federation, SEIU, regarding this big, broad brush painting of this labor dispute between working class and middle class and all of that. I can speak from personal experience. I used to work for a major franchisor. They got me through college. became a general manager, and if I had continued on with that company, would be a franchisee today and probably own multiple stores, my wife and I together. And many of my colleagues and contemporaries from that time have gone on to become franchisees and become very successful in their own right, working in conjunction with a successful franchisor. I have a lot of experience in many different markets with franchisees and franchisors. And I think this business model, which is very entrepreneurial, I think has offered many thousands of Americans and people internationally the opportunity to raise themselves up from humble beginnings, regardless of this dispute of you know, the labor organizations are putting together. So I also won't be supporting the bill today, but I did make a commitment to the franchisees that came to my office on Friday that I believe had some legitimate complaints in their agreements, and I think there is a proper role for the state to get involved, the state legislature to get involved at that point in time. So maybe next year, if this bill doesn't specifically address their concerns, you and I can work together and I can outline what their concerns were, and maybe we can work on something together to fix those problems. So thank you.